We have time about 1 hour, and I will allocate about 30 minutes for discussion and another 30 minutes for Q&A session. First, I'll go to SD, not because she is my colleague in the IE2I, but she is the youngest, and she is the only lady. So, as a gentleman rules, lady first. SD, what is your perspective from you are the young generation regarding to the renewable energy and this topic of decision? What is your perspective?
Firstly, I'd like to say thank you for having me here, and it's such a pleasure to be amongst the panelists today who are pioneers of their respective fields. Firstly, I'd like to convey that not only am I here as the founder of IE2I, but I'm also here giving voice to the young generation, so really just giving voice to the youth. So linking back to the topic of discussion, you know, this whole concept of diversifying Indonesia's energy mix. In order to firstly answer this question, we have to know what the problem is, you know, what the problem is and what we're currently dealing with, right? And so recently, the International Energy Agency has reported that Indonesia is currently facing an increase in electricity consumption. And this is driven by a variety of factors. So firstly, there's a rise in living standards. Also, there's rapid urbanization and strong economic growth. So with this growth in electricity demand, the problem stems in the fact that there's not enough supply to meet this demand. And linking back to what has already been discussed earlier, Indonesia's electrification ratio stems at, if I'm not mistaken, 87%. And so this outlines roughly 13% of Indonesia's population not having access to electricity. So that's where the problem lies, right? And we're talking, you know, Indonesia is a large country, it's a large archipelago, and we're talking 2,600,000 people roughly. And so 13% of that population is accounting for hundreds and thousands of individuals who don't have access to electricity. So the solution is, how do we satisfy this demand, right? But before we answer this question and before we make the decision that there needs to be diversification in energy mix, in energy supply, we have to also bring our attention to how Indonesia has recently committed. We have taken part in what's called the Paris Agreement. And in this agreement, which took place in 2015 and has also recently been ratified in 2016, stating that Indonesia is committed to decrease its levels of greenhouse gas emissions by 29% and 41% with international aid by the year 2030. And this has been ratified through what's called the NDC, so the Nationally Determined Contributions, and with the hopes that all the participant countries can keep global temperature rise well below 2 degrees Celsius. And so, as a member of the youth, you know, I can't stress this enough of how important it is to not only highlight Indonesia's participation in COP21, but also the need to look at alternative energy and really just trying to increase electrification rates by not only depending on conventional energy, supply, but also looking into renewables. So if you ask me, is there a need for Indonesia to diversify its energy mix, then I would say yeah. And the win-win situation would be that we're trying to increase electrification rates, and we're trying to meet the demand, but we at the same time have the commitment to lower our greenhouse gas emissions. So how do we satisfy both things? And in order to do that, then I would say that there would be a need for Indonesia to diversify and to really look into other alternatives other means of extracting energy. So I guess that's what I can
thank
say
you.
for now.
Next, to Pak Aryo, the other young generation, I think, and not because young, because he is the Commission 7 and also the member of the Green Economy Caucus.
Halo, tes. Ani Sandi, bisa dengar? Okay. Yeah, excuse me. Thank you so much, Pak, for having me on the panel. Thank you so much for IE2I also for inviting me to speak today. Can everyone hear me? Suara jelas nggak? Oh, pakai ini aja. Yeah, hello, tes. Yeah, thank you. As a young person, I also believe in what Esti was just mentioned earlier, and I also happen to be part of the Indonesian delegation that went to Paris for COP21 and also to Marrakesh for COP22, and I feel that there is seriousness to go into renewable. But there are several things I want to highlight. First of all, for those who don't know me, my name is Aryo Joyo Hadikusumo. I'm a member of Commission 7 of the Indonesian Parliament. I'm from the Great Indonesian Movement Party, atau Partai Gerindra. As a politician, I have to mention that as a member of Gerindra, there are several things I want to highlight why my party believes that renewable is important. It should not be an alternative. It should be part of the solution. In fact, when I went to London recently as part of a junket trip with Commission 7 to London, and we visited the BP headquarters, we met with Dev Sanyal, who was the president of, it still says alternative energy.